Hey everybody, welcome to the Columbus Wired post-game recap. I'm Andy Evans, and here we are under the semi-cover of darkness after a big Buckeye win here in Ohio Stadium as the third-ranked Buckeyes stay undefeated with another pummeling of the Badgers here in the Horseshoe by a final score of 52-21. Another 31-point win for Ohio State over Wisconsin. The last time the Badgers visited here in 2019, 38-7. Buckeyes didn't score as many points. They didn't allow as many points, but the record pretty much stayed the same. Nobody bothered to change it as the Buckeyes win once again over the Badgers here at home by a tally of 31 points. And what can you say about tonight's performance? Both offensively, defensively, pretty good game on both sides of the ball. Buckeyes, of course, starting off hot, taking the ball to start the game. They immediately score on their first drive within like 2.5 minutes. In fact, they ended up scoring tonight on their first 5 offensive drives, 4 touchdowns, and a field goal. 25-yarder here by Noah Ruggles, and the crowd was not happy when Ohio State called no Ruggles on, and they were up 28-7 at that point. They would go into the locker room with a 31-7 lead and then finish out the game from there, 52-21. 539 total yards tonight by the Buckeyes. Absolutely nothing to sneeze at. Pretty much right down the middle, 281 through the air, 258 on the ground, including now 2 100-yard rushers in the same game, something that has not happened since Justin Fields and Trey Sermon did it against Michigan State in 2020. And tonight it was Mayan Williams with 11 carries, 101 yards, 2 touchdowns, and Travion Henderson, who looked pretty good, and it looked like his foot was not affecting him at all tonight as he led the team with 23 carries for 121 yards. Didn't score, but still, after coming off the field early last week, being seen in a boot after last weekend's game against Toledo, he came out and had himself a pretty darn good game in his first 100-yard rushing game of the season, as well as Mayan Williams. So not only do Williams and Henderson finally get their 100-yard game of the season, they do it both in the same game. C.J. Stroud owning all of those passing yards tonight, going 17-17 for the 281 through the air, 5 passing touchdowns. Did throw an interception. Get into that here in a second. First interception of the year. However, 5 passing touchdowns. He may have thrown his first interception of the year, but he now becomes the only Ohio State quarterback in school history to have at least 7 games with at least 5 passing touchdowns or more. So a couple of firsts. CJ, that's all he's been doing since he's come in here, is set records at Ohio State. 5 passing touchdowns. Now the only OSU quarterback to have at least 7 games where that has happened. Just absolutely unbelievable what this dude is doing. Tell you what, if he doesn't have a seat in New York, I know it's still early in the season, folks, but my goodness, 16 passing touchdowns now in the year for C.J. Stroud, and he's got, I think, close to now 1,200 yards after tonight. Still, he was not totally pleased with his performance. He said in the post-game press conference, he actually said a couple of different times he was irritated and said there were throws that he should have made, including right here in this end zone, what could have been Cade Stover's 3rd touchdown catch of the game, instead overthrew him, which led to the 25-yard Noah Ruggles field goal, which would have put Ohio State up 35-7 instead of 31-7. But he said overall, hey, he's not perfect. And the thing that irritated him most, obviously, not only overthrowing Cade Stover for what could have been Stover's 3rd touchdown catch, but throwing his first interception of the year, happened right over here. Marvin Harrison Jr., kind of an out route towards the sideline. Stroud just put a little bit too much on it, and Wisconsin safety John Torchio was there for the interception. But, hey, like he said, he's not perfect. It's going to happen. So, have to kind of forgive him for that. And, you know, I mean, he kind of led the team to 52 points. So nothing to really shake your head at, right? Through the air, receiving wise, trying to get my bearings about me here, folks. Sorry, once again, it's kind of late. I'm trying to figure out where I'm at on the page here. Marvin Harrison Jr., speaking of, kind of a quiet night. 3 catches for 45 yards, no touchdowns. Second game this year without a touchdown catch. In fact, he came into the game tied for second in the country as far as individual receivers concerned with 5 touchdowns. Probably going to slip a little bit, but that's all right. I think he'll probably be okay when the Rutgers Scarlet Knights come in here next weekend. But C.J. Stroud still in rhythm with other guys like Cade Stover, who finally had who had his first touchdown catch of his career, ended up having 2 of them. Stover, the first one, in fact, he had both of them in the first quarter on a 13-yard catch. His second came 5 minutes after that on a 2-yard snag, and he ended up with 4 catches for 51 yards and the 2 touchdowns. And how about Emeka Egbuka? 3rd straight game now for the sophomore. Holding 6 catches tonight, 118 yards and 2 touchdowns. And receiver Julian Fleming, good to see him back. We are finally starting to see what all the fuss was about when Julian Fleming came in 3 years ago. And finally, all of this hard work, all of his fortitude, overcoming injuries, is finally starting to pay off for him. 4 catches tonight, 67 yards. He had a touchdown grab as well. So how about the defense? Like I said, they played a pretty good game, I felt, as well. Now, they allowed 21 points, same point total against Toledo, but what the defense did tonight, absolutely unbelievable. Only 296 yards allowed, 104 passing, 104 yards total for Wisconsin through the air tonight, 192 on the ground, and they flustered Wisconsin quarterback Graham Mertz all night long as the 3-year starter was held to under 100 yards passing. 11 of 20 on the night, 94 yards, did have a touchdown toss. However, he was picked off, his 3rd interception of the season, and that being Ohio State's now 2nd interception, as Mertz woefully threw behind his dude right up here, right around like the 20-yard line, and just woefully. In fact, I think I just said he overthrew. He threw behind his guy, woefully threw behind his receiver. Tanner McAllister was standing right there. Boom. McAllister now with Ohio State's 2nd interception of the year. But remember how I was saying in the pregame preview that Graham Mertz was a guy who we shouldn't be afraid to fluster Ohio State's defense with his feet. Like, he just wasn't that kind of quarterback. He was averaging 3 carries per game, and he literally had a total of negative 4 rushing yards for his career. Tonight, 5 carries, 15 yards, and he had a 1-yard touchdown run, which came about halfway through the second quarter, and that was Wisconsin's first score of the game. All right, so 5 carries for 15 yards and a touchdown doesn't sound like a lot, but for a guy who had negative 4 rushing yards coming into the game, there were a couple of plays that he made with his feet. And now Graham Mertz is positive rushing yards for his career. So congratulations there, Graham. You are on your way, buddy. However, Ohio State's defense did give up their first 100-yard rusher of the season. DeQuan Finn last weekend, quarterback for Toledo, came close, had 7 carries for 70 yards. However, no single person had run for over 100 yards on the Buckeyes until tonight when sophomore Braylon Allen did it, toting the rock 23 times for 165 yards and a touchdown. But that touchdown was a 75-yard run, busted up the middle here, sliced over to the left sideline, and zoomed up into the end zone, untouched for a 75-yard run. So had that not happened, and that came against Ohio State's second teamers in the fourth quarter with about 7 minutes to go. So had that not happened, at that point, 22 carries for 90 yards and no touchdowns. So he was still close to that 100-yard, being on the verge of 100 yards. But after that, 23 carries, 165 yards, and a touchdown. I mean, you just take a look at the stats, and, that seems pretty good. So, all in all, though, Buckeyes, not a bad win tonight at all, I'd say. Whenever you can beat a Big Ten opponent to open your Big Ten season by 31 points, I think that's got to be said for something. So, until next week, when we are back here at the Horseshoe for a 3:30 kickoff against the Rutgers Scarlet Knights, I appreciate you guys checking out the Columbus Wired post-game recap. Once again, I'm Andy Evans. Everybody take care, have a good night, and we'll talk to you next weekend.